Hello, Jake. It is.
Hello.
I'm still here. I'm still on the show. It hasn't happened yet.
You're still here.
I'm still here.
Your family size has not increased yet.
Not yet. We're still actively trying to figure out who Anthony replacements are. We're discussing potentially inviting a Australian journalist named Anthony Colangelo to sit in for me on one of the shows because we thought that would be funny. A lot of plans in work, but we're here back with John Conafay and Walter, if we can get Walter. Walter seems to be sleeping or something.
He's napping as he always is.
Look at that.
He's here.
Oh my gosh. You're fresh out of SmallSat, so I feel like we have to talk about that. There's some things to talk about SmallSat.
There are a lot of things to talk about, and
good.
Some heartbreaking, some exciting. Not
to be too dramatic about it. Yeah.
What else am
just
I
love
here?
Logan, right?
Yeah, sad about where it's going to be next year. Is that what it is?
Yeah.
I'll change your mind on that. I got some recommendations that can turn the corner for you in Salt Lake.
I trust the Salt Lake or the SmallSat people 100% that they're going to keep the vibe, that they're going to make it awesome. But I also love Logan.
Really
love. I have never had a bad meal in Logan, and I've had pupusas. They just opened this shabu restaurant that on the outside did not look like the most inviting, but then it was sushi, shabu and hot pot, and we took a customer there the first night and we ordered, I think, maybe 18 pounds of food.
And that's why Walter's still napping.
Exactly. It was spectacular. I just slept through the next day of meetings from meat sweats. Yeah.
So good. You all right, Jake? You doing all right down there?
I am still recovering. This is now it's 3 weeks of shows in a row where I've been sick, and 8 weeks total because I was on vacation stuff. But man, I don't know. I can't shake this one. So it's been. This is how I can tell I'm getting older, is that I can't just have a cold for 3 days and then just go run a marathon after. Yeah, I can't do that anymore. Oh man, but I'm here. I'm alive. I feel like I sound better. I don't know if you could from last week. Last week was bad, but I feel like
You sound fine.
So. Good.
Yeah. What are you going to destroy your voice with? Did you bring a special drink?
No, I'm trying to take it easy still. So I got a non-alcoholic today, but I made something nice, right? I made a horchata, right? Nice little, cinnamon on the top there. You can see, right? Yeah.
You're big on the little sprinkle tops.
Well, it's all about. This is all show business, Anthony. Come on.
The details, the charm.
Yeah.
All right,
Logan.
Yeah. What do you got?
So salty about Logan. That's amazing. I'm still making it. I'm making a gin and tonic as we speak right now.
Okay.
So I've cut my lime. My whole office smells like lime. It's great. This is that. I'm on the last pour of this Ghost Bomber gin that I've had on the show before. This is from somewhere near Pittsburgh. In Pittsburgh. Look at that. In Pittsburgh. If you're on the pre-show, if you're in the Off-Nominal Discord, you got a great theory about something going on in Pittsburgh. So I'll leave that hanging out there for people that want to check out offnom.com/discord. I didn't record it, so you'll never hear it unless you ask me again.
$5 a month, and you can get access to our unedited conspiracy theories in the pre-show.
Shocker, they're all about Johnson Space Center. Yeah, we basically have the JSC InfoWars pre-show in many cases.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
That's what's going on there. John, what do you got? It's early out where you are, and you're in the office, so I don't know where that leaves you.
Anyway, so we have plenty of Klosterler non-alcoholic. This has gotten me through many a space symposium because it's the only non-alcoholic drink there, and I'm pretty
Colorado?
sure from in Colorado, all of Colorado, and I'm pretty sure from noon to 2 a.m. you have to be having something in your hand. Symposium. So this was a good one.
That's good.
I didn't follow all the rules at Space Symposium. No one told me there was a dress code, so I just showed up like me, and nobody talked about it to me the whole time. So I think the rules are suggested there anyway.
I truly did not know there was a dress code. I just thought it was if you're meeting with government officials, you should probably be in a suit, and if you're not, go with what you're comfortable with.
That's funny. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, where are we starting? There's a lot going on these days. Let's hear about SmallSat itself. Like, were there good? What would you pick up? What was going on there?
It was good. The thing I love about SmallSat is it's like a quarter to half students every year, so you get that non-jaded, like really really electric energy. That and then we had our intern over the shoulder intern. I don't know, Inez. Join us, and I'm pretty sure she drove more traffic to our booth than any of us did. Full stop. We had our sales dude, and
did she have one of those signs that they spin, like
just spinning?
Or was there a wacky waving inflatable arm flailing tube man?
Good investment.
She was out like actually, running people down, saying, "Hey, have you heard the gospel of integrate?" And it was pretty cool. We should have gotten her one of those signs, but she's smarter than all of us, so it would have been a waste.
Well, you could hire us to do that. I think we would be perfect for roadside attraction style things at a conference.
That's about the level of our talent. Yeah.
It's usually what we're doing in the conference halls anyway. Like, let's be real.
What is that?
We walk control and.
I would need a sign. I need a sign that I can do with one hand though, because I have to have that little drink in my hand. Like,
just
for IAC, right?
IAC was a very fun conference hall for walking around and getting into hijinks. So
wait, what was this one?
Just the IAC in DC in 2019.
Yeah.
It was a good year for trollable content, right? There was a BE4 out there, a huge Antares display, the Blue Moon mock-up. There was a lot of good content.
The Boeing Astrobus was there.
That's right, it was. Oh my god!
Remember that?
How that aged.
Did I not go to IAC in DC? I had to have gone.
You were there. I saw you there. Yeah.
We spoke about it last time.
Yeah. There was just a lot of good content in that exhibition hall. So.
I think it meshed with my satellite memories that year. So it was like
and COVID. So
it was like right the last minute for the end of the world. Yeah.
So. Satellite was really the last minute.
Yeah. Okay. I remember being at Satellite and they cut it down that Thursday, or cut it off that Thursday. And it was like, okay, I guess I'm going to go grab some
remember
beer.
Judging you all at Satellite that you shouldn't have been there. Like, that doesn't seem like a good idea right now. Yeah, it was that close that I was even on the beat of like, that seems like I would have probably skipped that one.
Yeah, that is not at all unfounded now. No, even then it was pretty it was pretty clear. I'm not going to talk about the travel that I did right before that to Japan, South Korea, Singapore, Bali.
You were an importer. Yeah.
It was.
You kind of circled the epicenter there, just kind of really checked it out.
Checking it all out. There was a hotel situation that might have had like 3 levels closed off in Singapore. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Dark times. Yeah. Well, that sounds worse than Logan. Logan can't be that bad.
Oh, I love Logan. Logan's great. Outside of the fact that I heard some of the hotels are charging like $900, like straight up price gouging the week of.
Yikes.
But they have dorms and things like this that you can stay in. What's so hard about having to plan 11 months ahead of time to find a place in Logan that's not a 3-hour drive away?
Let me vibe check SmallSat generally with you real quick, because we were kind of talking about this earlier. I had Jeff Faust on Bico today, and we sort of got into this regarding the Lockheed Martin Terran Orbital situation. I'm curious to vibe check the SmallSat industry on both sides, the payload side and the launch side, because small launch, we've all been talking for years about how there's all these new small launch competitors, but no one's really doing anything yet except Rocket Lab. And on the payload side, it's a little bit sluggish, I would say. I would use the word sluggish.
I don't know. I mean, they've launched, 6 times now?
As much as Falcon Heavy, right, Jake? Wasn't that your fact?
Yeah, Falcon Heavy and Firefly, same launch pace, yeah.
Sluggish. I mean, I would say sluggish.
Yeah. I don't know. It takes a little.
They
while
have
to get
long
these
gaps. They have long gaps between things. Is my contention with Firefly and ABL. I have no idea what to make of the ABL situation. That just seems to be a bad news bears series of unfortunate events kind of thing. So I don't think small, and obviously Virgin Orbit gone, Rocket Lab moving on from small launch as soon as they can, relatively bailed entirely on small launch as soon as they could. So I think the launch side is in a weird spot. And then the payloads, the whole like giant constellations were going to buy many payloads or many buses off of these different providers never materialized in that way. They all went in-house. So is that vibe noticeable at the conference, or do you feel like everyone's still confident in what they're doing?
I mean, if it wasn't noticeable at the conference, it's sure as hell noticeable with this acquisition at just over half the price that was offered 6 months ago.
I think it was a fourth the price, like on the share side, on the share price.
On the share price. Okay,
yeah.
I thought it was like
Lockheed Martin has taken over all the debt, but they offered 4 months ago. They offered $1 a share, and today was 25 cents a share.
Got it. Yeah,
and the stock was at 40 cents. Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Well.
So
yeah,
that doesn't. It's not great.
Seem good. But I mean, there's still a bunch of constellations. It doesn't necessarily mean, maybe we don't have these absolutely absurd valuations that were going out before, because I mean, some of these companies being worth $10 billion or whatever we're getting up to in ZERP era 2021, like when everybody's saying, oh no, they did a down round, it's like of course they did. There's no coming back from doing a down round.
They did a realism round, like
compared to 2021. Yeah, it's like you look at every chart about funding over the past 10 years, and it's like, bloop, and then back to normal. Like the very, very, if you just removed 21, it would have been a very linear, slow increase in incline. But so I don't know. I think 2021, as we all know, was wild enough that can't take it too for granted. And it doesn't take a whole lot of satellites to make an entire company do fairly well. If it's 36 or 260, and then we're also realizing that replenishment is absolutely a thing. So you don't necessarily have to deal with the mega constellations to be competitive. But I don't know. What do you think?
I don't know. I don't. That was just generally my question. Was that I feel like the storylines that we all were talking up 5 years ago didn't come to fruition in the same way. And I guess you're right about like replenishment. We didn't talk about it in that way. There's weird times where it's come up, right? Like the OneWeb Virgin Orbit agreement was like, we'll replace one satellite at a time per plane, and that was never going to be a thing. Like that just didn't make sense, right? And that was, we're going to launch these whole planes elsewhere and then replace like one out of the whole 8 on that plane. That's weird. But you're right that there is more of the lifespans of these satellites. We're realizing what they actually are, what they should be because of tech cycles. So you're right in that those are more frequent than like geostationary satellites. So that does change your sales cycle a bit.
This might just be relentless. Some might call it reckless optimism. That it's not that the music hasn't
from
stopped.
A founder.
What from a founder? Somebody? I was just reading. Have you read Kara Swisher's Burn book?
Oh yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Like the spiciest of spice book about Silicon Valley. It's like one of the greatest things I've ever read, honestly. And her ending is just like a masterclass in finishing out a book and saying, like, just with 2 fingers in the air, walking away from an industry or into an industry, like walking into a burning building with 2 fingers in the air. I don't know how to describe it. There was a reason I brought that up. Oh, post-tragic. There's like this idea of post-tragic where it's like pre-tragic is you're so relentlessly optimistic that everything will turn out right and everybody's completely great and all of this, and I'm probably butchering this. But then she goes into post-tragic people. So the founder archetype is usually pre-tragic, like the Sergey Brins and all of this, where they're like, no, everything's going to be perfect for into eternity and all this. And then the post-tragic people are like, no, it absolutely isn't. But I really, really believe we can make a change if we try hard enough. And I feel like I'm more on the post-tragic curve, but I'm definitely sounding a little pre-tragic right now. Where I'm just like, it'll be fine.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Got a little grim. But...
Yeah. Jake doesn't care about small satellites. Apparently, it's just not. If they're not CubeSats at Mars, you're like, screw them, I'm out. You know.
I do care, but I don't know. I think that even in that space, in like planetary space, there's something that we can do with small satellites, and I feel like that potential has not been fully tapped or even explored. But I mean, the real question though is like what you're trying to get at is that like, is it happening, and what's the vibe? Are people like pursuing that, or is it kind of tragic? Are people kind of not feeling that anymore? I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah,
NASA needs to have more like $50 million planetary missions. Like they need to get on that better, I think.
Yeah.
Read the room, man.
Use all that Viper money.
Yeah, that's at least 1.5 of those. So.
It's like this. I'm just gonna poke at that. This transition to private industry, like, hey, we built it and we spent $470 million to do it, but we're just gonna hand it over to somebody else that might be better funded. I don't get it entirely.
Is your question like comma or ... what? Is that your question? Like what?
Yeah.
We need to clip that. That was a perfect clip. It was like, I don't, and then like dead silence for the most pregnant pause. Get it.
I have a couple theories if we're getting into this, okay? You pull the abort cord when you feel like this is going to harm customer sales. Here, you being next to this theory. All right. Here's the thing that I didn't know when they announced the cancellation of Viper. I love that we're going here. They said we're canceling Viper because it's a really huge budget. And we all said, that sounds accurate based on what we know. And their expectation was we're going to find more issues when we go through testing. What they didn't say was they were still going to do all the testing. It was a week later, somebody was at a conference and said, yeah, we just passed vibration and acoustic testing, and we're sending it into thermal vac testing, and all the components already passed thermal vac testing, and will be done in October, and that is still accurate per the latest release. They are going to be done all the testing by October, and they have, as of yet, found no issues, and based on what was said at that conference, I forget who the individual was, they don't really expect to. And that is a bizarre thing that they left out of the cancellation announcement.
That is a bizarre thing that I had not even heard, or I didn't even know about. Is this like, I mean, there are contracting opportunities and ways of transferring government intellectual property to private markets for monetization and things like this. I mean, SBIRs and all of these things. Is this like let's see if we can push the limit on that, or create a new contracting method, or new licensing? Yeah, like what would be the... How
are they allowed to do this? I don't know. Jake, should I go 100 miles an hour on this, or should I take the foot off the gas a little bit on my next half of the theory?
Well, the next part of your theory depends on some things that haven't happened yet. They're maybe likely, but they haven't happened yet. Which is
well, this part of my theory does not. Dicey. Okay, this part of my theory does not, which is, this mission had grown so big compared to where it started that it was going to be a $1 billion, if you include the lander, $1 billion mission, and they put this very expensive, important rover. They're like hanging the future of the Artemis program on this rover going and finding volatiles. But they had it in a program that they've expressly marketed as, we're 100% sure not all of these are going to work. Like, that is the marketing thing of CLIPS, is we're shots on goal. That whole thing that I think Jake might argue how much they've stuck to that. But that was the idea, was like, and in a year where we've had 3 funny moon landers, seems like a good take that there was going to be some chaos there. So they put this very important mission on the first flight of a big lander from a company that hasn't landed on the moon before. And I think that they worked themselves into a corner there, and they had to figure out how to not do that. How do they not put themselves in a situation where crashing this $600 million rover on the lunar surface is completely apocalyptic to the entire CLIPS program at large? And the only way was... And Artemis, I guess. pull this ripcord
Not
and
actually,
say
but by their definition, right?
By their classification. But to your point, John, like the RFI is take over this rover, but the restrictions, if you read the RFI, is like fly it exactly like we were going to. You can't take it apart. You have to fly it to the moon. You have to leave the data open. You have to give us insight in the mission. The constraints are basically fly it as we would, but pay for the rest of it and figure out how to get it to the moon.
It feels kind of similar to another very tricky situation we're in on orbit right now, as far as we need to divest ourselves with this, because at this point we've backed ourselves so far into a corner, and this is all speculation and all this, but I won't say it, but I think we know what we're talking about. That it's just like, if something does go wrong, it can't, full stop. But it also just sounds like the more and more you talk about it and say it in this way, it sounds like a really genius public-private partnership in a different way that we haven't thought of before, sort of. I know this is like giving a lot
That's
of...
a stretch. That's a stretch.
This is giving a lot
I think it's NASA trying to figure out the only way they could possibly land this thing on the moon without its crashing into lunar surface being their fault and something that they would get asked about in Congress. Because if it... I'll throw this kicker out there with this headline this morning that Intuitive Machines wants to take over the Viper rover and fly it on a Nova D in 2027 instead of an Astrobotic Griffin. This is the crazy part, right? If NASA, if this happens, let's just run this theory of this being the case. Intuitive Machines and a bunch of companies take it over and they fly it on a Nova D in 2027, and it doesn't go well. NASA gets asked about it. They say, we canceled it 4 years ago. This was totally their own volition. But if it goes well, they get a rover that gets all their data back because that was their requirement of this RFI.
I mean, Eclipse
is amazing.
I mean,
right. Yeah, look at what we did.
Yeah, that sounds like a perfectly reasonable and almost like industry-like move to make, which I'm kind of like, hell yeah, NASA.
You're into it.
Great choice. Yeah. I mean, the taxpayers are going to be pissed if it fails, flat out. Like as many taxpayers as actually know this is going on outside of our bubble,
Yes.
Fully.
Totally.
But the headlines would be, another government-funded, crash on the moon. I don't know. I think it's pretty. When you frame it like that, I think it's a pretty smart choice. And
it's funny because my framing it like that was not to convince you that this is 40 chess from NASA, but to convince you that this is a good way to steal a rover payload from Astrobotic and put it on an Intuitive Machines lander. That is what this feels like to me.
Huh.
So those are the two options. The two options are 40 chess or a great heist.
Do you think it's like a lobbying move, essentially?
Well,
again, we're an unfounded claim.
The conspiracy part is ask yourself what city Intuitive Machines is based in, and who works where. So, right.
Gotcha.
We have JSC is our Illuminati on this podcast. That is where we've landed.
I think it's a good chance that it's a really spectacular marketing move from Intuitive Machines. Frankly, I mean they've got a lot of goodwill right now, and once you put something out in the press like that, who did put that out? Was it
they talked about it on an earnings call. Intuitive Machines, that is. Now listen, to my point earlier, if this thing is going through testing and it's already doing great through testing, then you might look at this and be like, there's not a lot of money. Like, this is a good fixer-upper of a project because there's not a lot of money. It's got good bones. Like you can do all the weird like house buying terminology here. If what you have to do is figure out how to adapt it to your lander, but the testing's fine otherwise, then maybe it's all right.
It could also be okay, I'm really stretching this a lot, but we could call it a success for the COTS missions, where they're essentially saying, hey, look at how well private industry did with all this. We now have, proof positive that maybe NASA building hardware specifically isn't the most perfect thing in the world. And
it's a new definition of COTS. It's commercial companies buying stuff off the shelf of Johnson Space Center.
Or wait, what's the yeah? What's the...
That is amazing. COTS and JSC. God. And that, everybody, that was John Conafay, NASA PAO at the Johnson Space Center.
Was integrate, nothing to do with NASA
totally.
at all.
Yeah, if I was going to do a worse segue, which was, if you had to organize a bunch of hardware arriving in the right order, John, to make this rover actually fly to the moon, what would you buy to do that?
Well, why integrate, of course.
No, I was actually early on, before we got down my weird conspiracy rabbit hole, I wanted to ask you about what your approach to SmallSat was as a product. Because the last time we talked to you was a couple months ago. It was not necessarily early days, but earlier. And you know, where are you at now? What was your approach to going into a conference in this way?
Yeah, so I think, you know, we've so for whoever doesn't know, we're building program management software for the world's most ambitious machines, and I want to put a pin in that and ask you about some branding opinions that you both have, because I've got some. We're working with some stuff.
We're gonna workshop some stuff on this show. I like that.
We're gonna workshop the
PR workshop.
brand. Yep, exactly. But we're building software for hardware, essentially to be able to collaborate as easily externally or with external stakeholders, because hardware is fundamentally collaborative as you can with internal stakeholders and other software. And we got to add a few logos there. But
not the JSC one. After that,
no, not the JSC one. Hopefully, we'll still be able to eventually, at some point, add a NASA logo after this conversation. But so we've kind of expanded outside of just being space focused into automotive, shipping, a whole bunch of other things. But space is still a really, really popular vertical for what we originally built this for. So we went in, and frankly, it was very much like, we're software. What the hell could we possibly do with a booth that will attract?
Have the really inspiring table with the black tablecloth on it, and then just
exactly with the wrinkly black tablecloths and stars. Yeah, stars and satellites.
Two sad people sitting there with pamphlets.
Yeah, exactly. Am I allowed to? I don't know if I can share.
Sign.
Yeah, you can send me a link in the. Oh, you can screen share. I think you can do it. Let's do it.
I think I might be able to. But this is the.
Jake's tried this once. I don't know if anyone else has. So good luck with this. I don't know what the hell's about to happen.
So we took the.
Wait, did you do it?
Okay, what do you do? Not yet.
Okay, good.
What do you do after? What do you do after a mission or after a successful hardware test campaign? You go to a diner or a dive bar or something like this, right?
Hold on, I have to make your screen a guest. I don't know, John. We're in uncharted territory. Hold on, let me figure out how to make this work. I don't know what's going on. It's there for now. I'm gonna add a new scene. Oh, this is going great. This is so good. This is amazing. What's happening right here? Where is my button? This is awesome. This is so good, guys.
This is the best show I've ever watched on
YouTube. Source, camera.
Want
No, hold on. Guess 3. Did that work? Oh, it's over there. What's it doing over there? What's it doing over there? I don't know what's going on. Here, keep this one for. No, that's not even the one. Keep this one for a second.
There it is. Okay. Cool.
Okay.
So our booth was a diner booth, because we were like,
oh, that's amazing.
After a hardware testing campaign or anything like this, you want to go, I don't know, have some pancakes and beers or something because you've been up late doing whatever. So we decided to go with that, which is kind of one brand for our brand, which is this little sort of punk-ish, whatever you want to call it. So that's what we did, and people loved it. People would come hang out and sit and felt comfortable, and the actual demo environment worked out super well, and it stood out. Like, a sore thumb is a very, very polite way of saying how much it stood out, because we had this bright neon thing that I was going to start flashing at some point if it ever got slow at the booth. But also felt like it might have been a coup, or some of our neighbors would have just ripped it down, frankly.
Is that just a picture of bricks, or what are we looking at in the background?
A picture of bricks. Yeah, it's a picture of bricks.
Sure.
Yeah.
That is such a good analogy for software. It's amazing.
Picture of bricks.
Yeah. Amazing.
It's skinny. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, the strategy was essentially to go make sure we had as many demos and as solid a demo setup as possible, and not have to run between the 16 different buildings that we have in every SmallSat previously. So we just got to sit there, give all of our demos very easily, and while Inez ran around and brought a bunch of students and other companies to the booth. It was great. I don't know if it's a strategy so much as we showed up and I think we had a cool booth, but
I mean, that is a strategy, right? Like that would totally be my strategy of showing up at one of these places and being like, I'm just here to hang out. Like, meet me, you know? Come on, peeps.
We may or may not have had non-alcoholic beers under the booth because people were like, this is like a speakeasy, and we'd just hand them one and be like, excellent.
All vibes. Booth plan was vibes. Yeah.
I don't know if we were supposed to because it was dry campus and you still get ID'd for non-alcoholic beer for whatever reason, but it worked out.
That's one of my favorite like little jokes you do is it's answering the question what feels illegal but isn't, and it's driving with a non-alcoholic beer in the cup holder of your car. just kicking it back at an intersection, you know?
Pointing
same vibes, same energy. Yeah.
I wonder if you would get. I still don't understand why you get carded for it.
It's Utah.
Yeah.
Well, no, I mean, I get carded for this in Seattle, and Seattle's like on par with
really, wow,
and many other places as far as the drinking culture. So.
Maybe the reason Jake just stated that it looks pretty bad. So if a kid walked up and bought a non-alcoholic beer, they'd be like, "Oh, that looks bad."
Yeah. Is that illegal? Can kids buy?
Not in Utah.
I think
they can't.
Not in Utah and not in Washington, I guess.
Yeah. I think that is, Jake. I think kids buying non-alcoholic beers is the candy cigarettes of drinking. Right? Like, we don't want to start this.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But I bought candy cigarettes when I was a kid.
Well, you did, yeah. Of course you did, because you're now old.
Because I'm old now. Yeah, there was no law. There was no rules back then.
Most of the candy cigarettes were actually candy. This is just like, let's just wean you on to the brews.
Yeah. This is if candy cigarettes tasted like cigarettes, not like candy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
And you smoked
Get
them.
over that like initial, why does
horrible taste? Objectively horrible taste is what you're looking for.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Jeez.
Oh, man. We are taking some tangents. I love this.
Yeah. So Taryn, okay, I'm curious about Taryn, what your take on Terran Orbital and Lockheed is.
Oh, we're all the way back here, man. Previously on Off-Nominal. I love this. I was like, I thought this happened. I thought this already happened, basically. I was like, whatever.
Yeah,
I wrote this off. I wrote this off in my brain when they were 90% of Terran Orbiters. I always say Orbiter. Terran Orbiter.
Yeah.
Terran Orbitals. Because Terran had the Rivada constellation deal, but every time they updated anyone on it, they were like, it's not here yet. We're not even getting money for it yet. We got like $10 million or something, but it's a $2.4 billion contract.
Yeah.
So the only thing they were working on was Lockheed stuff.
Yeah, true.
I have this vibe about ABL, that Lockheed bought 50-some launches from ABL, and that's pretty much all we've heard about ABL. And I'm like, is Lockheed just hoping this becomes their new launch market? No, I think you muted yourself, and you were yelling.
Yeah, that was intentional.
Oh,
John, didn't you sell those 50 launches? I have to go back in time now.
Yeah. I did not. I can't take credit for that. I would have loved to take credit for that. But that was the founders for sure.
So good. Now let me bring up all the other companies you worked at.
Yeah. Let's talk about Astranis and Spire Global and Spaceflight. Well, we can talk about Spaceflight. I mean, there was Firefly now, which sounds very much like a euphemism for death. They're with the Fireflies now.
Okay, so Firefly, though, is similar to my ABL theory there. Is what is the over-under on Firefly just becoming the Northrop Grumman launch
I was
department.
going to say, what's the over-under on the DoD buying Firefly?
Just buying
kind
it.
of what I wanted to
Didn't
say.
they already, Jake? Isn't that the question?
We're going commercial off the shelves, but just buying companies.
The whole company.
Now.
Yeah.
I see what you did
exactly.
there.
A COTS acquisition.
Yeah. So I think it's just this whole idea of, we're actually talking about this. Inez's last day tomorrow, and so we took her out to lunch, and we were talking about this over lunch. But this whole idea of strategic capital in hardware specifically, like software, there are probably some things that look non-threatening in contracts that companies could do for software companies and strategic investing and things like this, as strategic investors to get better control. Excuse me. But with hardware, it feels very insidious because you have an absolute limit to what you can produce up to a specific scale, and if you get overly weighted to one specific customer on that scale of production or manifest or satellite building, whatever it is, you're just kind of, I mean, there's potential to be just led around by the collar there.
Yeah.
You know?
You're locked in a lot harder than the software world.
Yeah, physics is a pain in the ass. It's, you know,
right.
You can't, unless you expand and really, really get over your heels, which is the number one way to accrue a lot of debt and then be acquired for a quarter of what, you know, and this is all speculation. I have no clue, but that's the idea. That's why I wanted to bring it back to the Terran Orbital thing and the idea of strategic capital with regard to these, because it's strategic for the primes.
Yeah.
But
they don't,
strategic?
For the company, the root company that's like looking for it. Yeah. Right. And in your world, that isn't like when you try to go sell to a customer, software's really weird to people that don't do software. It's super really weird. It works totally different than hardware.
It's unconstrained. It's
scale fungible in a way that hardware. Hardware has to work up against the laws of physics, which are defined, and we find out about them occasionally. Software has to work on the stack of every piece of software that's come before it, right? Like when you run something today on a server or a phone or whatever, you're using code that was written 6 developers before you in terms of a lifespan, right? Like I write a bunch of iOS apps in my life. I used code that was written before I was alive at the root level, right? And it's the sourdough starter. I think that was the last time you had John, right? And we talked about this. So that's really weird, and nobody can quite quantify why that's different. But on the customer side that you're going to, the stuff they're buying from you could be as strategic and meaningful to their internal workflow as the hardware that they're buying from elsewhere. But they don't look at it. They look at it, I don't know this, you can tell me where I'm wrong, but they look at it more like, I'm buying a thing that we're going to use now, but we might migrate in the future, where that's a much harder decision on the hardware side. Is that accurate?
Yeah, that's totally true. The main reason people are buying Integrate as opposed to a number of other things is because they want to be able to give a really, really seamless experience with their customers and have like a custom portal for their customers to interact. So it's a little bit more sticky and a little bit more ingrained in processes there, because if you have to shift your external stakeholders to a new system, it's going to be a little bit more frustrating. But yeah, it's still, I mean, you could always set something up if somebody builds something like we have, which nobody has, but that's cool. You know.
But the point is that it is easier to migrate data at the end of the day than it is 100%. To migrate atoms. That's not a thing. So
always have that option. Whereas if you're in it for 2.8 billion, just whatever random number, you're in it. I mean, you're in debt. You have to have those facilities. And there's also no way of getting around human resource cost. Like you can't outsource building these highly specialized or designed things for the most part, because of ITAR restrictions and all of those things as well. So it's
it's like tooling and stuff. You mean like you're buying? That is actually funny to think about it. Like no one, when they're going to contract with Integrate, is like, we're also paying you to develop your own text editor that will be the tooling that produces the software that we buy from you, right? But in the other world, it's like, no, we made all these machines that make the machine that was specific to your. I mean, I think like OneWeb had that Airbus deal where then Airbus wanted to go sell these satellite buses to everybody else, but it's like they're still shaped like the OneWeb buses because that's the machine they bought. Whereas a text editor, it's just a text editor. You can type something different into it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah. So it's very strange. I'm really curious what. Now it's got me thinking of like strategic investments in software, and if there was any kind of way to wag the dog with that, and what strategies large companies. But anyway, not the purpose of the show, but curious.
I mean, hell yeah, it is, because that's like half of my life. So let's go into it. Very relevant to my life recently. So the last like year, I do a little. Well, actually, I'm getting Jake involved in this little agency crew that we've got called Pineworks. One of our biggest projects was an internal software tool to manage a warehouse just north of Philly here, and it was like inventory management, task management, hooks in with all these different APIs and accounting software and all this. But it was because they had churned through 4 different SaaS apps over the previous 4 years, because none of them worked the way that this company works. And they're a company that is at a weird scale where they're big enough to afford legitimate software, but small enough to not need. They don't have like 8 warehouses and robots. They just have 1 warehouse and a couple of people. So that's this weird middle ground where this custom approach made sense. But the way they looked at it was this, we can quantify how much more efficient this will make us. And we might be able to find other customers shaped like us because we know there's dozens of us, right? That like maybe we can do a similar thing for. So I think in your world, right? Like if there's a customer that sees how much more efficient that workflow can make them and they can quantify it, and then they're able to see how, maybe not in your particular example, but like if Lockheed was making a strategic investment in Terran software, like maybe they get a piece of that company. So the second customer they sell it to, Lockheed's getting in on, right? And it's not only made their internal process more efficient, but it's made them their initial investment money back over the course of 2 or 3 or 4 sales. So I don't think it's entirely different, because what is a strategic investment in? You can look at it for the Terran Orbital case, like they were strategically making sure that their big supplier on big programs didn't go out of business and disappear tomorrow. Is that all they were hoping, or were they hoping that they would then go and they would make money off the Rivada network's satellite buses at someday?
Or could it be a hedge bet on both sides of the equation?
Right, we're securing our supply chain, but we're also maybe getting payout on the back end.
Exactly. Yeah.
So the question really is then is which prime is going to buy Integrate? It's what we're trying to figure out here, right?
Oh yeah.
Or us, Jake. If someone thinks our podcast is making them more efficient at the work they do.
Yeah, I've actually got the paperwork right over here.
Nice.
It never imagined. Would be super interesting.
I love that the audience does not know when you've hit the mute button, but I see it. So it's just you're just politely trolling me, and everyone else thinks their internet died for a second.
Jeez.
No.
Now we need those TikTok lip readers to figure out what you said. Yeah.
Everyone got mad at me, Jake, when I tried to make a couple of TikTok clips for this show. So
yeah, you got big shit when you did that.
Yeah, that one was just so clippable. That show was so clippable. Yeah.
Wait, what happened?
Yeah.
I used this. I tried some stuff, John. You ever try some stuff and people go, "Ooh, I don't know if I like that."
And some people aren't down with it. Or
what happened was Mark Peller of ULA came on and was absolutely hilarious, and in ways that Jake and I never expected. And we got several clippable moments that were perfect for social media. So I said, hell, I'll try a couple of tools out and see if this automation can make me more efficient in the day and age of 2024. And everybody said that it was too TikTok for them. And then I didn't care about that, to be honest. Everyone that told me that, I didn't actually care. I just got extra busy because I'm almost having a second kid, so I had to finish a bunch of stuff. So I just haven't done it. I'm going to clip John's hilarious segments out of this show, obviously. So we'll see how that goes, Jake.
I think you forgot that our demographic is like middle-aged white guys who don't use TikTok. So
our current demographic, Jake. I'm in it for the growth.
Yeah. The avatar of our demo is just imagine me is what it is, right? So,
literally
30s.
Yeah, I should have worn my glasses today.
White guy, glasses and a beard. Yeah. This is a very diverse show we have right now, as you can tell.
Man.
Oh man.
Yeah. Well, this went places.
It did.
What didn't we rant about yet? We ranted about more things on this show than I thought we would. Yeah, I was excited to talk about software features, John, but you're all in on this, digging these JSC conspiracies out of us.
Oh yeah, software features. Yep, we got them. Absolutely.
We got some of those.
No, I am really stoked on this. What is it? Jam 4. We're in the whole NIST 800-171 compliance world, which is super fun for being able to hold CUI data, and all this is not just. I'm just talking about like why this on my brain. So
you're making letters up
Jamf and all
right now. Yeah.
It's like government compliance for government things, and so all I can think of is Jamf, which is like mobile device management.
Yeah.
But what's the mission that the the Bitcoin person?
Oh, Fram too.
Fram. Okay, that's just my pure dyslexia. Got it. Cool. Yeah. Jamf, Fram. Same
Marv.
thing.
Yeah. Two Marv.
And then we're one consonant away from Spaceballs reference there. The dog's name was Barf, right?
I don't remember.
Spaceballs?
It's been a while. Spaceballs. It's been
Barf?
so long. I haven't watched that show or movie in. I don't know the last time I watched it. Yeah. It's gotta be. Someone in the chat will tell us. We'll see.
Someone in the chat will tell us what the dog's name was.
Are you in on this mission though? Are you supportive of this polar flight?
Absolutely. Dude got in early on something that became wildly popular, made billions, and spent the last 5 years traveling around just doing whatever he wants, and now he wants to go to space, and that's possible. That's like the coolest, like, get it, man. And he's just taking a bunch of his travel buddies. It's like, I met this person on the Inca Trail, so decided they'd be a lot of fun to have along, and like ideological, philosophical, we're doing this for the good of humanity to prove that exploration is the way forward. Like all of that crap. It's just like, I just kind of wanted to go to space, so I got a bunch of my traveling buddies along with me. It's perfect. Like,
did you ever wonder what Antarctica looks like from space? Me too. I'm going. Like, it's by far the most relatable of any commercial space mission thus far.
It's like the most I synced it with my own eyes. Like, move in the world. I love it.
We were talking about this before the show that I didn't know that we were trying to figure out the crew makeup because it felt like this guy got really into polar exploration and then made a bunch of money and was like, I'm just going to hire the 3 people I've been nerdy about and do this mission. Like, I think in Jake's world, if he made a bunch of money and then like hired Dan Carlin to take him on like a World War I tour of Europe, like this is the equivalent.
That's exactly
of that.
what it would be.
Just get like a private Dan Carlin show all through the Ardennes, like.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we'd go camping in the Ardennes. Yeah.
Beautiful. I love it. I think it's like exactly. It feels. It just really feels cool to go from we're sending up suborbital flights up every quarter or so people are actually getting to see space fairly regularly. And they're able to just buy their ticket to that. And now we're getting to the point where people, like, it's not an institution that is putting people into space, but just some guy that I had not necessarily heard of before, that just decided, screw it. I want to do that thing that was never accessible ever in the history of humanity before. That's like, it feels very special, frankly.
I know Jake has thoughts about these jackets, but I am in on the flight suit
absolutely.
Polar Explorer crossover that's going on here.
Oh, that's spectacular. They got their pickle suits on, and and the bombers, or that's a bomber.
Also, he bought this mission and he is sitting in the window seat, which is distinctly different than all the other versions of this, where they are the commander doing, like, I'm going to be Mr. Astronaut.
Things.
Like, this is
Yeah.
Which also, by the way, the window seat's the best seat to buy if you're gonna buy a seat on the flight. Like, you want to look out the window on the way up.
There are two types of people.
There are two types of people.
Oh, okay. Go ahead. Bring it on, tall people.
No, it's not
there's normal people and people who have to pee a lot. That's the two types of people.
Okay.
Yep.
Right.
That's what I was gonna
You
say.
never will sit in a window seat, either of you?
I'm a window guy.
Okay. John, you're the issue here?
I'm a GTFO guy. So I'm like maybe it was I mean, not that you're going to go anywhere on a plane.
Yeah, I was going to say, are you like just overly prepping for an off-nominal scenario?
Yeah. Hey. Nice. Hey. No, I've noticed personality differences in people that sit in window seats and people that sit in the aisle, and then anybody that chooses the middle, maybe really snugly, maybe
they just ended up there.
I don't. Yeah, exactly.
I don't think.
They ended
wow,
up.
Are there people in this world that prefer the middle? Probably. That's terrifying to think about. There's some weirdos, Jake.
Hilariously, I probably fly middle more than anything else, but because my wife gets the window and we go together, right? But that's it. So
yeah, that's just you being a kind, caring person, you know.
Yeah.
You're like, sure, I'll take it.
Listen, on the topic of Utah, flying over, if you're ever, I mean, honestly, flying into Logan or into Salt Lake, I mean, I guess you were not flying over this part based on where you're coming from, but window seat into Salt Lake City is the greatest because for the hour leading up to arrival, you're just at Mars. You're flying over Mars. Like that's where you are for an hour. You know.
And don't get me wrong. I don't judge people that do the window thing. Like anybody, it's kind of that that Kurt Vonnegut life was made for farting around thing when he goes out to buy envelopes. Or it's like, of course I want to go buy my own envelopes. It's I get to meet babies and new people and see all these colors. So I'm like, hell yeah, wonder of life, wonder of flight. Get it? That's spectacular. But I'm also like, get the hell out of my way if anything goes wrong. I will assist.
But in the space flight world, you're gonna sit in the middle seat of Dragon. You're not gonna sit over in the window.
I would sit in the window there because it's all like I don't have to climb over people. Disturb.
There's no aisle seats.
Yeah, there are no aisle seats.
Tell that to Butch and Sonny, Jake. Okay.
I don't.
Yeah, they're definitely flying the equivalent of the middle of the Dragon. They're getting the bad middle seat.
They were they're the C group of Southwest Airlines. Well, not anymore, I guess. That's out the window, huh?
They're in the middle group of the middle section of the wide bodies where they got people on both sides.
Yes, that's exactly the spot.
We're supposed to find out what the decision is by this weekend, right? On Starliner.
Not anymore. Next week, another weekend, sometime before September. Nobody knows. It's a while. I mean, we know what the decision is. If we knew, my whole thing all along has been that they've painted a negative space of like, they've never really told us how the people that are currently no on flying back with people would change to yes. They haven't illuminated what data might come in that would flip these individuals to a yes vote, and so that feels just like they're burning out the clock to me.
Yeah, you mean burning out until
they just have to tell us what the decision was.
Yeah.
They're building a flight rationale for not sending them home on Starliner. That's what I've been saying.
Yeah. You love saying that term.
Flight rationale is a great term.
It is. It's a really good term. I don't think I'd heard it before, frankly. But I don't know. It's a one of those things I don't necessarily want to comment on.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Yeah.
That
is definitely it. Yeah.
I've upgraded since we talked about this on the show, Jake. Should I inform everybody that I've upgraded my Discord prediction.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Starliner doesn't fly. I've now put it at Starliner flies no earlier than 2027. I have upgraded from a 2026 date to 2027.
Do we think it's going to?
So,
at all? I mean, I guess they have to keep it because you need competition.
I don't know. See, these things are problematic, right? We never really can see the paperwork behind this. So, do we defend? Jake, you looked into this more. You looked into the money side more, right? Like, we don't. They could technically legally back out.
As far as I can tell, they're like on the hook for the first 2 flights, and then there's like an off ramp. But I don't know if there's like a penalty if they like decline to do that, or like there could be. We were postulating like maybe NASA would like convert them to cargo flights or something so that they could still spend the contract, but you just use it in a different way or whatever. But yeah, that's the best we could suss out.
And that's because they already have the money for the 2, or what?
I think they're just contracted for it, right? I don't know how binding that is, but that's like the contract was we'll buy 2 with an option for 4 more.
Oh.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So
excited to have.
Well, that's less fun to talk about. Yeah, because that's less fun to talk about than polar corridor to human spaceflight destinations. So we skipped over that one quick.
Yeah, we sure did.
Wait.
Yeah.
Here's my question. I have one question for both of you on this FRAM 2 thing. If say that there's like a scrub or something, or say like Europa Clipper supposed to launch this year, right? That's this fall.
Yeah.
Right?
October, yeah.
So say that like goes late in the window and it takes them a while to flip back, and they don't end up flying in December to January timeframe. Do they slip an entire year because they want to see Antarctica illuminated fully? Because they've said this as like a marketing point of the mission. That's what I wonder. Or are they just like, that's a nice time to target? It seems like
is it
just.
I mean,
just
what's the window that they get 90% of it, or however much that?
Yeah, you should be able to go into January for a couple weeks. It'd be no problem, right? Like the best date would be December 21st, but if you go,
got a little buffer.
3-4 weeks in either way. Yeah.
Yeah. Also, I know you all have probably spoken about it a lot, but that return to flight in 2 weeks? Pretty dope.
I was thinking about that this morning. Do they still have stuff to do? Like, what am I supposed to follow up on this? They changed something. Are they changing it back? And do they have to? Is there more stuff I need to be aware of?
What I understood, and I thought was like, I don't have any insight. That's not public. Was it was essentially just a testing line that screwed something up, and they're like, "Hey, do we actually need that?" Nope. And they just were like, "Cool, get rid of it."
Delete the console log. Remove debugging hooks.
Yeah.
No, it was remarkable. I mean, the timeline for me is I came on Off-Nominal, and then I went away for 2 weeks on vacation. And when I came back, everything had happened and been resolved. Like there was that 3-week period on both those shows. Falcon 9 was flying, and there was an anomaly in the middle of it. So
it's crazy.
That's nuts.
It's nuts. And they didn't jump back into like 8 Starlink flights in a row. They did a couple Starlink flights and then a cargo flight to ISS and then a crew flight to a commercial crew flight and a commercial crew flight, and then another one coming up at the end of the year. They just got right back into actual stuff rather than a 10 launch ramp up. It's crazy.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah.
On that note,
I had for you.
Oh. I've got Eric Berger's book in my hands, and I know Jake's got an ebook because it's possible to send anything to Mexico, which is a topic for later. Jake, I've been trying to FedEx you things. Apparently Rocket Lab can FedEx spaceships easier than I can FedEx a box to Mexico. But this book is freaking rad. It's not out. Oh. We've got a month left. Oh. But it's awesome. I just wanted to bring it up.
We're prepping for the book tour, so
yeah.
So that's a hell of a flex. Very nice.
It is. Well, I just want to alert everybody that Eric's coming on soon, and we're going to talk about this. So.
Oh, awesome! And I'm going to go buy it right. Oh, I did pre-order it already. Okay, cool.
There you go.
Already done. Yeah. I just forgot that
I did. John, where should people? I know you posted some videos and stuff recently of the product. I wanted you to plug what is up if people want to follow along with what you're working on these days.
Yeah, usually LinkedIn's the best place. We're doing a lot of product marketing, showing people what we can do in the application, follow us, integrate on LinkedIn. We post some stuff to X, but we're a lighter touch there. And then hit us up. You can hit me up at john@integrate.co if you're curious about it, or our head of sales, Scott at integrate.co. We're happy to walk you through it. Or you can just go sign up for a free trial and poke around yourself at integrate.co. Pro trial for 14 days, and we will reach out to you if you do that.
Beware.
Oh, look at me. That's me. That's not a screen cap. That's
you.
Me. Right there.
Look at
that.
that.
Two of me. Cool. Yeah.
Double John.
Doing a
loop. It looks rad.
Thanks. I'm like, we just had a major facelift that I'm probably going to put a video out tomorrow about, just streamlining everything in compact view, and it looks really, really sleek. I'm really excited about it. But I did have a question for you. This is that branding PR thing. So program management software for the world's most ambitious machines. What do you think of initially when we say ambitious machines? Do you think of the people building ambitious machines as the ambitious machines, or do you think of the people or the products they build as the ambitious machines? And what would be a stretch? What would not be? What do you think is more impactful or meaningful? And if I know we're over, so
yeah, you French goodbye the shit out of this. I love it.
It's tough because we already know what the product is. So,
but you're not imagining what an ambitious machine would look like, Jake? I'm thinking about robots personally.
I thought
really
robot hard. Like I thought ambitious machines. I'm thinking like things that dig tunnels and trains and airplanes and rockets and right.
Robots that try hard.
Robots that try hard. Try hard bots. Yeah.
I don't think about people.
Okay.
Yeah. I think it catches me up. It makes me think about it for a second.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think I have a weird relationship with the word ambitious, is what I'm realizing through this discussion.
What's your relationship with the word ambitious?
I don't know. It throws me off. I don't know. I kind of stall out when I'm trying to think about robots with ambition. I guess I'm trying to figure out where I would rank them. Is Roomba ambitious? Tries to get everywhere in your house. It's pretty ambitious.
Is the opposite of ambitious. A shoelace takes Roomba out.
Clearly, I've never had one. I have all stairs in my house. I have no rooms that are attached not via stairs. So
I'm done. Where's the shoelace? I'm done.
Break. I'm good. Blue smoke break, whatever it is. I do love my Roomba. I also go home every day and I'm like, different day, different shoelace.
All right, I gotta think on it more. This is my answer, I guess.
Okay.
Jake, you lined up a really interesting show next week. When I was on vacation, I think.
I wrote a blog post. It's been a while now. It's 5 or 6 weeks ago. About the Hubble situation with Isaacman and stuff. It wasn't actually about that. It was about more of a bigger thing. Because Casey Dreyer at the Planetary Society had this podcast about how do you title it? Like religiosity in space. So kind of like drawing some parallels between the movement to put people into space and how there's like kind of like some religious, almost culty aspects to like the people who follow it and are involved with it and stuff. And I was seeing a bunch of parallels with what was happening with Hubble. So I wrote this thing about it and I sent it to Casey. I was like, look what your stupid podcast made me write. And he said, can I come on and talk about it? And I said, yes. And then I booked him. That was the extent of what we have planned about it. So we're going to talk about, I don't know where it's going to go. We're going to talk about probably some Hubble stuff and probably some, I don't know, religion
Opportunity?
stuff.
Opportunity got a little of that vibe, I feel like, right?
A little bit. Yeah. There's some stuff.
Good night, Oppie. All that.
So,
well,
yeah. But
nice. I'm pumped.
So
I got some reading to do, I guess.
I don't know what'll happen, but
just gonna go places. That's the promise.
Yeah.
John, thanks for hanging out. I didn't give any of my Salt Lake City recommendations, but I will post that somewhere at some point and convince everyone to come to
when we go to
with
SmallSat the next time.
Yeah.
That's what because you'd never been, right?
Never been to SmallSat. I've spent so much time in Salt Lake City, so I'm happy to hang out at Bar X way too long and eat red iguana. And there's I have to check if it still exists. There's a bar that we used to go to that was a joint. It was like a basement, and it was like a dive bar on one side and a sushi restaurant on the other side. And a friend used to run bingo nights there, and it's the weirdest place I've been in my life. And we're gonna go. Oh shucks! Shout out Oh shucks in Salt Lake City if it still exists. I gotta check. It's been a couple years. So.
Yeah, I have nothing against Salt Lake City. I'm just gonna miss Logan. That's all.
Fair enough.
You can still go, John. You can go back.
Yeah, you could go there. You could drive there. See, you don't love it that much. This is a front. Oh man. Well, all right, everybody.
Cool.
We will see you next week. Thanks again, John, for hanging out.
Thanks, John.
Thank you so much.
Bye.